Hey everybody, it's Fabienne, and I have got an awesome surprise for you today. Wait till you meet Mark Strong. Incredibly inspirational, no nonsense. I love Mark, and he is one of our members of the Boldheart Business program. Mark, say hi to everybody, introduce yourself. What do you
Thank you.
do?
Thank you for that introduction. That's so sweet. My name is Mark Strong. I spent the first 23 years of my career working in advertising and knew that I wanted something different. And so I started a corporate learning and development company, and we also do training and facilitation and team dynamics work for creativity companies. And I found you through a former participant of Boldheart named Michelle, who had really experienced some dramatic growth, and her life seemed to get easier. And
Yep.
so we were having lunch, and she said, "You got to meet Fabienne."
Yeah, I think it's
Um,
important for the people who are listening. When Michelle first came to Boldheart, she was making less than 100,000, and she was ready. Maybe it was around 100, and she was ready to throw her business out the window
mhm.
because she was paying herself less than she would make working for somebody else and working evenings and weekends. And a couple of years ago, by virtue of being here and learning all the things that Mark is learning, she crossed the $1 million mark. Yay, yay! And
Awesome.
spending more time with her beloved. So Michelle referred you.
Yeah. And I had this wonderful chance meeting with you because you actually took my intake meeting, which I remember. But I remember feeling at the beginning of that call and previously, I had grown the business to 1.2 million. Um, a lot of that time had been on my own, and I was frustrated. I was always worried about cash flow. I didn't really have the tools to scale a business. I didn't have anyone in my life who'd ever run a business. So that's why Michelle said, suggested that you and I speak. And I remember in that 30-minute call that we had all that time ago, just feeling like, oh my God, this is the right person, right? Like everything you teach is exactly what I needed. And I did have a few people on staff. We have 12 now, but when I first joined, it was just 4. And those people were just like lifting Mark Strong up. You know what I mean? Push Mark to the front of a room, get him ready for that. And so I was just going all the time. And when you said get to 7 figures and get your life back, I think that probably had me hooked. And yeah, and so when it completely delivered. And should I share some of the accomplishments that I've had?
Yeah, everything you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, of course. So as I said, we've grown from 4 people to 12 people in the time that you and I have worked together. One of my first big things that I did was on a suggestion from you was hiring a fractional CFO who still works with me today. And that has been a true game changer for me because I now know how much money we have and what our runway looks like, and we have all the right reports. And I also have someone to go to for counsel. I needed a dad or a mom, finance person to say, don't spend that money yet. And that
Somebody
was
to be paranoid for you.
exactly, exactly what I said when I hired him. I'm like, I'm going to hand my worry of money over to you and let you worry about it. And he said, good, I'll take it. So that was one big thing. Obviously getting to 2 million over these 2 years has been incredible, right? And the things that you teach helped us get there. I think I was resistant to things like systems and processes and all that. It sounded corporate. I've already done that. I want to do that again. Well, of course they exist for a reason. And so that's a second huge impact that I've certainly got out of this, which was we implemented Entreport, which is now our single source of truth, and we use it to its max capacity. Everyone knows how to use it, right? And so we had 2 of my staff go out on maternity leave last week. We had 2 people that we lost, and it could not have been more seamless because it was all in the operations manual. You know what I mean? So all that stuff, I still feel all the benefits of it, which is great. I would say versus the program overall, I mean, I feel obviously financially things got 800,000 better, but that's not bad. And logistically, they got so much better. I mean, they by 100-fold, right? In terms of processes and things we send before and things we say after and what we do in the rooms, and people continuously, give us feedback on the wonderful experience that we create, for our clients. And I just think I was bootstrapping it too much before. So now it's like all these things are repeatable. The rooms are kind of the same, whether it's virtual or in person. But I think the most important one in terms of benefits for me has been an emotional one. I would venture to say despite being a fairly optimistic person, I was kind of coming from a place of fear. Certainly uncertainty was one of my things, and just some frustration about how to bring people on quickly and all that. Um, and so I much more like when I catch myself in that mindset, I always try to go back to a growth mindset. I built my company around the core value of love,
Mm.
but I wasn't necessarily loving myself in front of my staff by taking too much on and so forth. And so even after going through the pandemic, you know what I mean, and the market contracting, I think I would have been just panicked for 7 months, and I just haven't been. We just been innovating new products and selling them to as many people as we can, and we survived, and we will continue to survive. So those are some of the top benefits.
Yeah, wow, amazing. And I know that one of the things, I mean, like, I don't want to even glide through any of those, that like all of these things are massively important. One of the things that attracted you was the idea of taking more time off and getting your life back.
Yeah.
And tell us about how that's even started to happen or any developments around that.
Yeah, I think when I called you 2+ years ago, I would venture to say that I was probably working 78 to 80 hours a week. Not only would I have to write courses, I'd have to go deliver them tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it was crazy. Um, and so, sorry, I just blanked on the question. What was the question again?
Quality of life, like you
Oh,
were working 80-hour weeks
yeah,
uh, and I just wanted to see, like, did you make any headway on the quality of life
yeah.
thing? Spending more
So yeah,
time.
I'm going to do an extra take so you can cut this. So yeah, when I first met you 2 years ago, I was not in a good place. I was working 70 to 80 hours a week, and now I've gotten all of my dreams have come true. Before I walk into any classroom or virtual event, everything's done, waiting for me in all the folders, right? My stool is there with my cup and all that, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. Those are silly things. But I generally stop working at 5 almost every day, and I rarely work the weekends. And I've got this amazing team who, every time I do something twice, it becomes a process and it
Yep,
goes to other people. And
yep,
so
we
it is
talked
really,
about that.
yeah, we do. And it's just so nice to be able to shut down my computer at the end of the day and then just go have the rest of my life, which was not happening before. I was finishing training and then going to prepare for tomorrow.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you that first time, and hearing that the people who love you, uh, just wanted to spend more time with you.
Hmm.
And now that's a reality.
It is a reality. And during the pandemic, my husband and I decided to move from New York City back to Minneapolis, which has had some impact, of course, on how much stress I feel on a daily basis. But that was something that was definitely validated in this work with you, right? It doesn't matter where I do my work or where I live, and I kind of knew that. But in this environment, I'm so much more creative, and so things like I'm playing tennis 4 times a week. I didn't play tennis 4 times a week in New York, and so that stuff is becoming so much easier, and I can be more choiceful in self-care and doing the things that I want to do that are outside of the business.
Yeah, one of
It's
the mindset dust things that I pour on the top of all of these trainings around systems and using your time for exponential growth and all that jazz is, like, you can have it all,
yeah,
whatever all means to you. And for you, it might mean I'm playing tennis 4 times a week. And for somebody else, it's like I roll on the floor for the first 2 hours of each day with my dogs. And that gets me into this like vortex energy, then allows me to do great work in the world. Like we
yeah,
all have, it's all different for everybody, right? That's just
absolutely.
it. Mark, tell me about the aspects of the program that you especially found valuable so far. What helped you
Yeah.
make an extra 800,000, work less? What did you especially like in the program?
For me, I think there are two things that were the most impactful for me, and many of the other things were impactful, but these are the two that were the most. The first of which is just spending 2 solid days with you every quarter, learning about a new activator, and discussing it in a room full of people who get it and understand it and want to learn that stuff. And that's my second answer, is being surrounded by really smart entrepreneurs who only want the same thing I want, but for their business.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a group guy, you know what I mean? Like I don't sign up for group things. Uh, but it was like, it's a lovely group of women with some wonderful men as well in the program, but gender doesn't matter in this instance. They're learning from other entrepreneurs, and breakout sessions or just more having lunch is so valuable. And you have these people now as part of your network who can help you forever, and that's been a delight. Um, and I think the third thing would be some of the relationships specifically that I've built with people behind the scenes, right? That I know will go on forever. And I know kind of what everybody does, so I can ping people if I have a specific problem and I know someone on Boldheart can help.
Yeah, yeah. You just mentioned that gender doesn't really matter sometimes, because 98% of our members are women. And just recently, I just started calling a spade, but like, can a man be part of this program and feel like it's all good, you know?
Absolutely. I'm sure that there was some trepidation walking into the room, but of course, everyone was lovely, and so any man I think who wants to scale their business would very much enjoy your program. I was specifically drawn to it too because our primary value of our company is love, and I like the way that you talk about business and what we can do, do good in the world. And I think, men who are looking to scale but want to do so in a loving and generous and helpful way will love this program. And I think men who maybe don't want those things will still love the program. It just might not be their vibe, but the material and learning that you get during the process is so worth it. So at worst, you might have to get up and dance. That's the worst thing that might happen. So nothing to fear.
I think if you are somebody who doesn't like love and who doesn't want to do good in the world, it's probably not going to be the program for you, and you
Probably not.
probably wouldn't last long if you're a curmudgeon and a jerk.
Absolutely right. Yes, you will be called out and you'll be exited. Yes,
Worth the investment, return on investment.
absolutely. Um, I mean, look, it was $800,000 worth, and it doesn't cost that, but there's been so many other benefits too, which include things like our team works more effectively together. Generally, I have the right people in the right jobs. We're innovating new stuff. I understand my finances better. I think we have a much stronger brand voice in the marketplace. I think people see us as the go-to place for training at creativity companies. Um, and so yeah, so like there's been so many advantages, and as I said, the emotional ones probably were the biggest, because I don't live in fear anymore. I was very surprised at how easily I could generally stay in high vibe during COVID, kind of watching things cancel. My God, what's going to happen? But I could switch that quickly into an abundant mindset, and then money starts to come. And I know how to shake trees better than anybody, so we've been able to keep it going.
One of the things that I kept saying from day one of COVID was, what if this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to your business? And a lot of people would think that that would be, um, uh, what do you call it? Like, just a horrible thing to say. But I believe that you can change your energy around anything that happens to you. It's not what happens, it's how you react to it. And if we
Yeah.
can look at how we can pivot, we can look at what we can do to ride the wave, and not be affected by it. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who actually did better in the last several months because of what we've been talking about in all of the meetings and the weekly Q&As and all
Yeah.
of that. I'm super happy for you.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm so happy. Thank you. I'm so happy to feel this way and to have gotten all these benefits.
Yeah, just and you're doing such good work in the world, and you're such an amazing person. And as I started the call, just so inspiring, and I'm so happy that I've been able to help you in any of these ways to really take your message out there in a big way and make more of a difference. And just
Yeah.
really love working with you. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, you did all those things. So thank you from us as well. Um, I was going to mention one other thing that I thought was important for you to hear, which was, so, I mentioned the 8 weekends or 2 days that we spent together. And I think one of the things that I wasn't appreciating when I first started was the important role that inspiration plays in this process. And when you don't have other entrepreneurs to go to, to look up to, it's so reassuring to have someone who's gone through it, who can help you work through those hot spots, you know. And I would leave at the end of the second day always feeling like yes, and it would last exactly 3 months, and then it was time for another one, right?
I know people are always like, I need my fix of
That's
Boldheart.
exactly right. And that's why everyone's so excited in the morning on the first day of each of those 2 days. But that to me, didn't quite realize how much that was missing before I met you. Was green light thinking, and just what if, and changing my mindset around things. And the last thing I'll say is, as part of that, there's been a note. I made a note on our first weekend, and it said, "Open a school." And we are launching our online virtual school in October.
Yeah.
And yeah, right. And that's something that would not have probably happened had COVID not happened, right? We've switched everything to virtual, fine. Um, but if in-person training and events are going to come back for a while, we've got to get more people through training. And it was so easy to do. You know what I mean? Just get it set up, get things recorded. And I think it just would have taken me a lot longer to do some of that stuff without being in the program, and having the accountability to kind of get stuff done, and knowing that there are 60 or 80 people in a room waiting to hear your results and how you've done and have your back, and sharing your foibles is such a great thing to have. And I just didn't know how much I needed it or wanted it. So I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said yes to yourself. And
Yeah.
was there resistance at first, like, oh, I'm busy, or this is the money, or I've tried other things in the past and they didn't work. Like, was there any resistance to signing up?
There wasn't. And the reason for that was because of how I was feeling on a daily basis, right? I was always vibing low, very scared, kind of pushing my body and mind to the max all the time, never taking a moment to think about making things better for the future. Um, and so, no, I mean, after I spoke to you for 10 minutes, I think I knew I was going to take the program. And also, I know Michelle well enough. She's like, you got to take this program.
Yeah, she's no
Uh,
nonsense.
yeah, she's no nonsense. So no, any resistance I had was gone after I spoke to you. I think there's a little bit of excitement as you walk into the room for the first time, or you're on your first Zoom call. Who are these people, and are they safe, and all that? And that gets established really quickly, right? It's so nice that people roll in and out of the program because there's a group of people who already know each other, and they're so inviting, and they bring you in. I just think I don't think I ever saw someone at a Boldheart meeting not be included by others. You know what I mean? People grab people, come with me, we're going to get lunch. You know what I mean? There's just a very loving community. And it's very easy sometimes to sit on the fringe, or have lunch someplace else, and which is totally fine. But what you get back by hanging around these people is also worth something.
Yeah, I often say that Boldheart is a watering hole for unicorns. We're a family of black sheep, of people who didn't necessarily feel they could belong anywhere. And yeah, I was a black sheep. I didn't belong. I was never accepted. I was always on the, outsides. And so, of course, I created a community where it's like, we're a family from minute one, and we
Yes.
don't do anything without each other. But it's really lovely, and I'm glad that has been a big part for you.
Yeah, it has
That
been.
means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing your story, Mark. I'm so happy for you. Truly, deeply happy.
Thank you.
You deserve
I'm so happy too, and I'm so grateful to you for all the help that you gave to us. And so thank you. I appreciate it.
lots of love.
Love for me.